This is an excerpt from Pitbulls, a 5-part series, investigative reports on the Montreal pitbull ban and the influence of the pitbull lobby, by Maria Claude Malboeuf, August 13th, 2017. Who's pulling the strings? The U.S. pet industry is worth $16 billion. Without pit bulls to sell, to rescue, to rehabilitate, to care for, and to feed, a lot of people would see their revenue plunge, denounced Jeffrey Bocart, who lost his baby, Daxton Bocart, when he was torn from the arms of his babysitter by her 2 pit bulls. Since this tragedy, the American DJ and other victims have worked to expose the gears of the powerful pit bull promotion lobby. Who pulls the strings? Portrait of a tightly woven network. This is a very important article for everybody to read if they want to understand the fundamental structure of the pit bull lobby, because it's not a lobby that is based in facts or based in any type of evidence. It's all feeling based. Level 1, financing source, Animal Farm Foundation. Run by an American millionaire, Animal Farm Foundation has its motto, equality for pit bulls. The pressure group devotes itself entirely to combating against any regulation targeting its dogs. After inheriting a fortune from her father, Jane Berkey, who also owns a literary agency, turned over at least $6 million to her group, $2.85 million in 2013, according to government records. She pays 9 employees, one of whom, the director, makes more than $100,000 a year, and finances numerous groups that share her philosophy. Level 2, the researchers. National Canine Research Council, NCRC. To produce studies, AFF bought a private research body in 2007. The acquisition was kept secret until the victims group Dogspite discovered this during litigation. The National Canine Research Council, NCRC, was created by a veterinarian technician, Karen DeLeese. Neither an academic researcher nor a veterinarian, she self-proclaims as the greatest national expert on deaths caused by dog bites. An action fund permits the organization to engage in lobbying according to a government registration. The NCRC is linked to several advisors and consultants. This is the case for Gary Petronik, a veterinarian who co-signs NCRC studies, and in the base of the page, 16, former Chief Animal Control Officer of Calgary, Bill Bruce, who was still employed in that civil service job at the time he accepted his association with NCRC. The agency already had consultant Glenn Bowe on board, whose heavy criminal record can be found online. Illegal weapon possession, obstruction of justice, domestic violence, and harassment. Still, thanks to millions from Animal Farm, the NCRC finances like-minded researchers, notably on the issue of identification of pit bulls, information available on their website. Level 3, publication. Journal of American Veterinary Medical Association. The American Veterinary Medical Association publishes NCRC studies in its journal. On its own website, it proposes sample letters for readers to write contesting any laws aimed at pit bulls. Moreover, its site has a link to AFF. The association added the following introduction to a famous 2000 study. Quote, in contrast to what has been reported in the news media, the data contained within the report cannot be used to infer any breed-specific risk for dog bite fatalities. To reach that conclusion, it would be necessary to know the numbers of each breed currently residing in the United States. Such information is not available, end quote. Even if they are opposed to a breed ban, for practical reasons amongst others, the authors of the study, seasoned in the Ministry for Health and Government Institutions, nevertheless concluded In spite of potential bias and the lack of data on the canine population, pit bulls seem to be implicated in 42% of fatal tragedies. We do not believe that in the United States, the proportion of pit bulls amongst the dog population even comes near to approaching 42%. We therefore believe that the disproportion of deaths associated with pit bulls is real and escalating. Level 4. The political lobby. Best Friends Animal Society. The studies of the AFF network allow lobby groups to put pressures on politicians. They propose regulations they favor and try to overturn those they dislike, sometimes with success. The central facts about Best Friends Animal Society are that it still manages $60 million and has, for its motto, "Save them all," for it is opposed to euthanizing all animals. Its senior advocate, Lindy Van Cavage, sits on the board to AFF. The website of Best Friends Animal Society indicates she paid an ex-economist from the tobacco page 17 industry, John Dunham, to create a fiscal calculation scheme designed to advise governments on the cost of breed banning. Dunham's calculations were attacked in the Texas Tribune in 2011. The following year, before a referendum on pit bulls in Miami-Dade, a government committee discovered that the real cost incurred in targeting dogs was 65 times lower than those claimed by Dunham. With all its money, the lobby can afford to finance lawyers and harass elected officials. And if it doesn't get what it wants, it threatens to finance the campaign of their political opponents, denounces Angela Provo, whose son Bo Rutledge was killed by a family pit bull. Level 5. The distributors. The animal care industry. All the lobby studies are abundantly distributed by animal-based companies like shelters, breeders, trainers, etc. In Montreal, they are distributed by, amongst others, the SPCA, whose mission is to avoid euthanizing dogs, and whose two most senior executives themselves are owners of pit bulls. On social media, pit bull owners deploy these studies relentlessly and accuse all of their opponents of ignorance. Certain more aggressive ones have even threatened the mayor of Quebec City with death. Let me stop right there for a moment. This is something that only nutters do. They know that their arguments are weak, so they resort to death threats. Just like the trolls that we see on our channel all the time. These people just have nothing behind what they say, and so they resort to violence, just like what Dump Dogs was talking about in his videos, which you guys should definitely check that out if you want to see the stupidity of these people on full display. Unfortunately, some militant activists have come to a tragic end, killed by their own fighting dogs, notably Darla Napora, at the time 8 months pregnant, and Rebecca Carey. So was it worth it? They fought diligently to protect these dogs, and they ended up being the ones that were killed by them. So, if there's any confusion on why the pit bull lobby has so much power, this article explains it all. And the more we expose the pit bull lobby propaganda, the more people can become educated in these dog breeds and just make the educated guess on whether or not it's worth it to have these dogs in their home with their children.